Okay, Lyndie Hill, you ready to go?
Yes,
Okay, cool. How you doing, by the way?
I'm I'm good. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Good.
Yeah. You somewhat excited about this, or?
Yeah, I'm always up for a good chat and just sharing of stories. That's always a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, well, let's get rolling. Welcome everyone that's chiming in and having a listen to our conversation today with Lyndie Hill. Lyndie Hill's with Hoodoo Adventures, and I've had the privilege of getting to know Lyndie through her membership with TEC Canada. As a matter of fact, on true transparency, this is the first time that she and I are having a conversation together. But I know her through video, I know her through testimonials, and I know her through her members and her chair, and all the stories that I've heard over many years, quite frankly, and trials, tribulations. Boy, you've had your fair share. I wonder, Lyndie, to get us started, can you share a little bit about how about the Coles Notes version of Lyndie Hill and Hoodoo Adventures?
Sure. Yeah, I started Hoodoo Adventures 18 years ago and right before a recession. So, starting on a good foot right there, bang off. But yeah, I started as a home-based business and had this like fire inside me to grow it. And the more people told me, oh, you can't have a business like that. It's not possible. It's not plausible. The more I wanted to make it happen and make it a thing. So, grew, over the years, took on a lodge for a few years and then, really like just growing in itself is a challenge. And when we moved to a downtown location, we opened a climbing gym. We, took on all of these things. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, and we have a wildfire, uh, you know, issue around this region, and we had years of floods, and so we've really like pivoting and adapting has become a big part of our story. But I think through all of that, what we've built for our community and how important our business is within the community has just kept me really focused on keeping our doors open and making sure that we're here for the health of Penticton, but the surrounding area too. And so it's been quite the journey, really.
Right.
Yeah.
As as much as man, I love your humility and your story because some of the those challenges. I mean, you talk about recessions, you talk about a pandemic where you're in the people business for sure, right? People going out and having adventures. That had to be just incredibly challenging. Add to that the forest fires, the devastation of forest fires that obviously the region experienced. We've all gone through lots of challenges, but your list is pretty incredible about how you've persevered through that period of time. You said fire in the belly, so to speak, right? That energy, that passion. Where does that come from?
I have always wanted to make a difference. I've always wanted to I feel like you have one shot at this particular life anyways, as far as we know. And um and I just have always wanted to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can to make some sort of difference in my life. And so when I was younger, I didn't really know what that was or what that looked like. But as soon as I recognized the outdoors and the connection to nature and the impact that that can have on people, on individuals, on groups, on communities, and how it can be used as a tool in our health. And I it just was like it just clicked for me. It was a thing that was like, hey, this is my direction. And I just locked my sights on what I wanted to do, and I never switched off. It was just like, hey, this is happening. No one's telling me any different. And I will make sure no matter what that I create a difference through this like avenue of the outdoors and make sure that people realize how beneficial it is in our lives. So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And of course, I continually hear in everything you've shared. Another comment that you made is about community and how important that is to you. Maybe just before I drift into that aspect of your life, adventure and the outdoors. Now, granted, you live in one of the most beautiful areas in our fabulous country, but where did that come from? Was it an upbringing of outdoors?
Yeah, my parents are very outdoorsy folk. We've always spent the weekends out camping and canoeing and hiking and that kind of thing. So I've always had a love for it. We've always had a connection to the outdoors. My grandfather was like a real outdoorsman, backcountry guy, and he sort of I was one of my people that I always looked up to and thought it was so cool. He lived in this cabin out in the woods, and he just he was away from society, and I thought like, wow, that's such a neat way to live your life. And so I think as a kid it was always something, and I had relationships in my life in my teenage years with friends who were really struggling through their parts of their lives. Maybe they didn't have a support system within their own family. And so when they would come with us, and when we would take them camping, or we would take them away from what those concerns were. Later in life, when I got into my career, I realized what a huge impact that had on those kids, and having discussions with them later in life, how it changed their lives and it changed their direction. And those, like, we call them campfire talks, when you're sitting around the campfire having those conversations, and how those things can change your life, and just somebody caring about you enough to take you and have those experiences with you. I still hear from friends that were like, those were some of the best times of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to create for other people. And I want them to feel like how they can access those things and do that in their own time, and not break down those barriers for people to have those experiences.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, before I drift into a pretty exciting announcement that I know we want to share with a lot of people, and get them really engaged, and perhaps even be part of this unbelievable journey that you're going to be bringing to the area. And I'll hold it there and let the audience be teased a little bit. But let's talk about community, because I know how that's, well, I mean, I've heard it throughout what you've already shared with us, but just share with me some stories about community and how important that is to you. How does that show up for you?
Yeah, well, I really realized when I moved away. So I spent about 8 years out. I grew up in Penticton. Then I spent about 8 years living overseas and working overseas. And I could see some socioeconomic issues that were kind of popping up back here, that I always felt like, sometimes we get so focused on band-aiding things, like, being reactive to stuff. All I wanted to do was focus on a proactive approach. So it's like, how do we offer things, healthy lifestyles, leadership roles, positive ways for people to proactively look at their future, rather than waiting for something to happen and slapping a band-aid on it. And so for me, when I was kind of watching my hometown from afar, I knew I could come back here and have an impact in that way. I knew that I could start building those relationships within this community and other communities. And that has grown, even through this announcement. I'll share some of that, but yeah, like now I have kids that come back. We've been doing this for 18 years. So they were little kids that I would take canoeing, or we would have these, outdoor experiences with, or we would do an event through their school. And when I very first started, in the first couple of years, I'd go into schools and we would talk, and I'd say, okay, who knows about Hoodoo Adventures? And you would get like one or two hands. And now when I go into these schools, it's like, who knows about Hoodoo Adventures? And everybody's hands shoot up. They know, they know about the company, and they know what we offer. And so really it's for us breaking down those barriers for people to access the outdoors, to know what the benefits are. And that's that proactive approach. So, we're creating this industry of adventure, of outdoor education. You have to do that through the kids. They need to know, they need to grow up knowing these things and knowing how to get out and be active. And now 18 years later, it's like these kids are now adults, and they're, getting emails, you changed my life. I went, I completely changed the direction of my future when I came on that camp with you guys, or, whatever that is. So it's really empowering and impactful. And it's an amazing story to tell other communities and leaders in our country, basically, to say, like, let's focus a little bit more on being proactive and less on being reactive. And we will not have to react later, because these communities will grow up in a healthier place. So, yeah.
Love it. I will not have to react later. I love it. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the big reveal, obviously, when Sean Eldred, your chair, reached out to me, and she and I had a wonderful conversation, and she shared, well, she asked me a question. Do you know what this is? And as a matter of fact, I said, which may not surprise you, I said, yeah, I do, because I just watched a movie, ironically, which was a very, very special movie. And of course, I'm a dog lover, so Arthur the King, when I watched that movie, I went, yeah, I know all about this as it related to that story. So there you go. That's my lead in. What are you doing in Penticton in the region? What's coming their way?
Yeah, so super exciting, and I'll give a little background, because it was born out of a place of being faced with all this adversity. So I was looking for a way to help the area with an economic driver, and help tourism, and help just help with the situation that we were in, both short term and long term. And I had the opportunity. There was a gap in the schedule of the Adventure Racing World Championships. And it was in 2023. So we've been working on this for 2 years now. We, right when the travel ban from the wildfires hit in our area and pretty much decimated our tourism after years of wildfires and the pandemic, and people just didn't have any fat in the tanks to make it through. We lost a lot of businesses. I just thought, right, I'm jumping on a plane and I'm bidding on this event, and I'm going to bring this to our region. And it's time that Canada shines, and that we, bring some eyes, international eyes, to the adventure opportunities of this region, and give our tourism a boost. And so I did, and it's coming, in, I hate to say it, but 4.5 short and probably fairly stressful months.
There you go. So,
Yeah.
so for some of our listeners, they might not be aware of exactly what this is. So, and they maybe didn't see the movie. That I'm referring to. So when is this exactly happening? What's the dates? And tell us about the event, because man, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's the date, it starts September 20th, or around that time the racers will start flying in. So adventure racing is a mix of mountain biking, trekking, paddling, and some kind of rope work. And expedition adventure racing is multi-days. So this race course is 750 kilometers long. The host city is Penticton, and the rest of the course is completely secret. So they have no idea where they're going, which has some challenges on our organizing end. But yeah, and they have no technology. So they're racing by map and compass only. They get their maps just before the event starts, and the race course is led by checkpoints. So they're like flags on the course that they navigate to. We have, there'll be somewhere between 20 and 30 countries that will be represented and coming to race. They race day and night, so they're going around the clock. And the fastest teams will finish in about 5.5 days, and they have up to 10 days that the course is open to be able to finish. So it's an extremely inspiring sport. The people are extremely inspiring. They've faced all sorts of their own adversity. And we're going through communities who have faced a lot of adversity as well. So the whole story of the event is so fitting to my heart, and so fitting to what's going on in the world, that it's one for people to watch, for sure.
Oh, it's incredible. And how many people on a team?
So there's 4 on a team.
Yeah.
And usually there has to be at least one female on each team to make you in a ranking team. So but it can be any mix of male, female. And yeah, so we're not, registration is open till the end of the month, so we don't know exactly how many teams we're going to have, but the least amount of teams at a World Champs has been sort of 60 teams, and the most has been 100. So somewhere in there we'll land, and so it's a great boost. A lot of those teams travel with their own media crew, so they're pushing, this stunning footage of our beautiful region out to the rest of the world, and it's live tracked. So each team has a tracker on them, and everybody can go watch online and see where the teams are and see this beautiful footage of what they're doing and follow the stories of the teams and things like that. So, yeah.
Incredible. I'm so excited for you. So excited for the area, for Canada, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Because on the international stage, the presence that this race gathers, I think it's actually streamed on one of the networks as well, isn't it? Do they?
Yeah, there's a few streaming networks, and then countries like Brazil and Japan and even Sweden, they have their own TV programs that follow their teams. So there's all sorts of opportunity, and it's it's definitely a big deal. And it's one of those things where I have to say, like, right now we're so in Canada, we're like proudly Canadian, and we're all just
Right.
wanting to support within our country and showcase our country, and this is such a special way to be able to do that. Adventure racing really immerses the racers in the culture of the country that they're visiting, and so this is our chance to shine and show off our culture and our communities and our story and share that story. So yeah.
So, obviously, in putting this together 2 years ago, you're working through the details. You see an opportunity, and here you go again, Lyndie, the great warrior of adversity. Suddenly, that I'm going to bring this. Tell us about some of the challenges that got you from there to where you are today.
Yeah, well, like, just the race course being secret in itself is very challenging, because we have to get like non-disclosure agreements everywhere we go, and it's, you want to be able to say, "Oh my gosh, look where we're going. It's so amazing," but you can't say anything. And then we also go in, and my whole goal with this is to showcase these little communities and to give back to these communities, and for them, some of them, like, we go through 14 different Indigenous lands on the course, and some of these Indigenous communities are just switching their industries from maybe something that's more like industrious to tourism, and they're looking at tourism opportunities, or they just want to be more self-sustaining. And so this event is a way to like launch them out in the world as a tourism destination in their small community. So us going in and pre-recording an advert for them, or interviewing their um like whoever they decide to share their story, and making sure that that's all ready to go, so when the course launches, we have everything lined up in it, and we can really like highlight where we are and what people can either watch online or come back hopefully and visit and see. And
Oh.
but yeah, I'm sure you can imagine permitting for 750 kilometers is like all of the different types of areas that we need permitting for, and just getting out there. I spent a lot of time out on the course last year, the same time last year, making sure that everything was passable and that we could utilize it all. So,
Wow.
yeah, it's
That would have been exciting in itself, just to be kind of out there on course, so to speak, and kind of imagining what this whole adventures is what it's going to look like. Logistics have got to be just a nightmare. I'm thinking immediately. I'm thinking 60 teams, 4 on a team, 240, maybe 400. You got camera crews, you got other. Where are you putting all these people? Where are they? I mean, how is this all working?
Well, it's interesting. We just brought on like an RV kind of company to have. Part of my theme for the Canada theme is camping. So I'm trying to like showcase our camping culture here.
Wonderful.
And so we just brought on like a trailer RV company to house people in some of the transitions. And some of this is really backcountry stuff too. So like we're getting into really remote areas where our volunteers will be tenting for days on end, or that kind of thing. But yeah, when you think about like 4 teams and they each have a bike box, and you could potentially have 400 bike boxes that you're moving around a 750 kilometer course, It's it's definitely challenging, but we've done a few qualifying races before. So we've done 3 qualifying expedition races under the Adventure Racing World Series. So we do have experience in the area. And my our race director and myself, we went to the last 2 World Championship races as well in South Africa and Ecuador. So we were able to be there and help and watch how those ones unfolded and learn from those two. And yeah, it's so it's a journey.
Wow. And you mentioned volunteers. It must be an army.
Yeah.
Yeah. How many
Yeah.
volunteers?
Yeah, so far we have 100 just like general volunteers, but that will probably bloom, to double. We have a lot of community in the where the different transitions are on course. There'll be additional community volunteers. And these communities are so excited about having us come through. They're just really going above and beyond to showcase their stories too. So, they're all coming out and doing their own special thing. So it's neat.
So, switch gears a little bit here on you. It's a huge success. It's all over. What do you hope to accomplish for Hoodoo and community, and perhaps even for you personally?
Uh, so I think the number one thing is just to have built awareness around our region. So have eyes on our region as an adventure destination and be recognized as an adventure destination. I think that's it's particularly Penticton. It's like beaches and wine, but not always. People don't always think about the other things. So putting us on the map is a big one. Um, and then for Hoodoos after that, I I don't know. Like, I think there's all sorts of opportunities. It opens many opportunities, but one of the things that I've really realized by going to these little communities is there is a need for what I do here in Penticton in those communities. So as I've been building these relationships, I've also been recognizing that they could utilize and use a youth program, outdoor recreation program in their small communities. So I kind of can see that opportunity to almost come into those smaller communities, even around the province, and do what I've done here and help them establish that in their own community and be proactive in that area in their own community. So I see an opportunity there. And for me, I we'll see. We'll see where the universe takes me.
But
Heck.
again, the humility shines. So I appreciate that comment. So when you think about, I mean, again, I'm just going to make an assumption here, Lyndie. You can correct me if I'm off here, but all kinds of challenges, logistical nightmare probably at times. Wondering, what have I got myself into? What did I come? I mean, I probably go through all the reasons why I might want to bail on this. Let's maybe go to the opposite side, which I know that you're a kindred spirit of, and thinking the positive outcomes that come from belief, if you will. I think it's Napoleon Hill that said, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it will achieve." And you're probably a person of that spirit. What do you need? What do you need from? What does Hoodoo need? What do you need? It sounds like you got it all looked after. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, that's it's really a challenging time. So obviously the like political and economic situation that the country's in the moment has been extremely challenging. I mean, like I've been doing this for 18 years, so like I said, I've been through a recession. I've been through times where there is like you know, um where things are really good and it's easy to find things like sponsorship and grants. And then there's been a time like now where you're just used to getting a door closed in your face every time you turn around. And even though we see this as like I see all of the opportunity and the potential for this. And I think, a lot of people that are watching it will or like hear about it, see how big of an opportunity it is. It is a challenging time economically to bring on sponsors and to find grants. And so, I mean, those are things that we're working really hard on because for us, the more that we have, um, the better our budget. It's not necessarily that it's like we're going to walk away with this profit. I'm so extremely community focused that to me, it's about like, I can actually do a better job of long-term gain on this, of like more exposure and helping what we can do long-term if we have more investment in this. So it's that's been something that I really am trying to focus on, and what in sales or whatever they say, you get 7 no's to 1 yes. So trying not to, just keep pushing forward, and but that has been challenging. And sometimes sponsorship can come in the way of like of support, like, Canadian Tire's coming forward and offering us in-kind support. So it's like, do you need camping gear? And do you need, with this camping thing that we have, do you need patio lights and, that kind of stuff? And so sponsorship and support can come in all sorts of ways that help save us and promote these companies. And especially if there's Canadian companies out there that want to get their brands out there, that's always a good thing.
We could probably tag this to this stream as we share it with our community and others, but we'll need to know, what is that? So do you have a way that you could share with us today in terms of different sponsorship packages? I appreciate your comment about some could be in kind, but do you have kind of a target that you're chasing relative to sponsorship or packages or levels of sponsorship? Have you kind of gone down that? Maybe your tech group helped you in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We still have a title sponsor space open, and I've tried really hard to fill that, and I still have some irons in the fire, but that's still like probably the biggest opportunity that is open for us. And we just had a meeting with Rogers this morning about different advertising opportunities. So for a title sponsor, I mean, like, as we all know in business, it's not always the best thing to be sell, sell, sell. Sometimes you need to show your brand as supporting community, and sometimes you need to show your brand as giving back, or, an impact that you've had. So it's, your commercials your commercial spend's not always the best thing. Buy my stuff. So, but we also, that's really cool with this sport because it is tracked online. There's checkpoints and there's transitions and there's stages. There's all sorts of areas to sponsor a checkpoint. And when you're looking online and people are watching live, they'll click on that checkpoint or they'll click on that transition, and a box will pop up with a link to a video. You can watch the video about that company. You can, whether the owner wants to make a video that says why community is important to them or why supporting races are important to them, or they just want it to drive to their website or whatever. You've got all these people that are keen and want to know where you are and what's there and what's happening. So we have a lot of different options, different levels. And I am well aware of where the economy is. So it starts at $500 and it goes up, in increments from there. And so there's something reasonable for everybody and every business size. Yeah. And you will I'm not one of those people who is like, oh, come and just put your logo on something. Like, I make sure that you get a return for your investment above and beyond what it is. So yeah.
Fantastic. That's lovely. And as I said, we'll make sure that we have that information available through our process here as well. When I think about, I guess just the process, and I would be remiss in not asking you a question about the executive committee, TEC Canada, of course, for the listeners that may be tuning in there, that are wondering what's going on here. Of course, my name, Todd Millar, CEO of TEC Canada, and Lyndie Hill has been a longstanding member inside of the tech environment, working with members. I know you've been so kind to us in the past of reaching out and providing a testimonial of your past experience with tech. Thoughts that you would share with us about how this all connects to your tech relationship and how maybe your member, your chair, others have helped you through your journey, not just with Hoodoo, but where you're at today.
Yeah, I came onto tech at a time when I was struggling a lot. Like I just was still working within the lodge that we were running, and we had just been hit by this wildfire, and I was like, I can either just shut everything down and do nothing and hide, or I can do something. And it just felt in my heart that doing something was the right thing to do. And in that time of me knowing I needed to do something, Sean, our chair, she reached out to me and we had a meeting, and And I just felt like that was the something that I needed to do. And especially when you're in this time of struggle, like that is the time that you need input from other business owners. When things are great and happy and easygoing, sometimes you don't need that connection as much as when you're down in the hole and you need somebody to lift you up out of it. And tech has certainly been that for me. And it's not just the like input from our team, our tech group. It's also the fact that I've been able to give input back and feel like, oh my gosh, I actually do know what I'm talking about. Okay, sometimes you just need that too. Sometimes you just need to like remember that, okay, I'm on the right track, or, or you need the reminder that maybe there are other ways to look at things. And they've just been, it's been, especially through the pandemic, like when we could all sort of shift and we're all from different industries. So one of the things I always find tourism gets hit the hardest often and the first. But then when I see that they're doing well, that the other industries are doing well, I'm like, oh, good. That means that people are going to take a tour and they're going to go on a holiday. If your industry is doing well, then mine will recover as well. So there, you have all of those aspects of tech that have just been wonderful.
It's fantastic. I love that. Appreciate the kind comments about tech, your community, and obviously your chair. Um, uh, I'd love to learn more. I could probably chew up an hour just listening to you talk about this particular adventure that's coming to Penticton, and all the elements of it. I am curious about again, how maybe how are people reacting to a Canadian adventure? I mean, I've seen a couple of them, and since being introduced to you through Sean and hearing the stories of this particular adventure, I've tried to be. It's amazing how things suddenly come to you. So I've been very very attuned to hearing more about this adventure, but many of them are in places where I'm thinking, do we even have adventures like that in the region?
Well, it's interesting. Like when we were in Ecuador, there's also this like thought that Canada's like we live in igloos and things like that too sometimes. So there's this when we were in South America, they're like, "Oh, it's going to be so cold," and I said, "You know that it actually gets very hot in Canada too, and the host city is in a desert, so it could very well in September be 30 degrees there still." So there is kind of getting people's brains to shift around that. With that said, we also have very high alpine. So we do need them to also be prepared that, it is a cold climate. So we have had some teams asked to buy gear when they're here, which is great, that they can access gear here that they can't access in their own countries. And so there's been some of that. But I mean, we are a mecca for outdoor adventure. Like, even if you put a circle 750-kilometer radius around Penticton, I mean, you've got the Rockies, you've got the coast, you could go to Seattle. We're not going to do that, but you could, right? Like, so there is so much, such a massive playground here for us to create from. And our course designer, some people may have watched Eco Challenge World's Toughest Race, which was on Amazon Prime. That was a big one during the pandemic, and lots of people were watching that. But our course designer did that race, and he's done many races. And so his like our lead course designer, and actually his people that he's working with were the producers and race directors of Eco Challenge World's Toughest Race. So we have this amazing team. And but he said he built a race in Canada that he would want to race. This is the ideal race for him. And so I think that looking at it from that lens of a person that has been all over the world racing, and he is so excited about showcasing his own country and what he would want to see in this type of situation, has a lot to say about what kind of race it's going to be. So,
Wow, well,
yeah.
that's fantastic. So, any dogs allowed?
We are so I'll share a funny little story. I did get an email from one of the teams that said, "How are you going to mitigate the bear situation?" And I thought, well, I'll send an email to the forest and we will that we are coming through. But unfortunately, no, they that's their home and we are moving in on it. So there's not too much we can do about that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, look, I've got the $1 million question for you, and that is, what were you expecting me to ask you, and I didn't ask you about this adventure, about Hoodoo, and I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is a tough question. I should have I don't know. I suppose we talked a lot about the race and one of the big things which is very common in our region is surviving seasonality. So for me, it's like a 4 season thing. Attracting this race was sort of probably came over trying to figure out how to get through the year. We were like, how do you get through a winter? How do you stay sustainable throughout a year? So we ended up, starting working with events to be sustainable throughout the entire year. And with that, like thinking outside the box piece of like, okay, how do we keep our doors opened new opportunities. So every time, I would start one event and then all of a sudden somebody would say, that's so cool. Can you do that in my town? Or can you do that in this town? So I feel like maybe, one of the things like messages to put out there is just like, finding opportunity in challenges. So something that maybe somebody could see as a challenge, maybe switching that into an opportunity, because that's what all of these things have become for us. Like all of these challenges have become these amazing opportunities, and yeah, maybe that's my message too.
I love it. I'm a huge believer in some of the Stoic language and amor fati, love of fate, and
Yeah.
not merely to bear what is necessary, but to love it. Right. So really embrace the challenges. And when I think about your story and not only what you've shared, but what I've read about Hoodoo and yourself, Lyndie, and the challenges of even bringing the World Adventure Race to the region, to Penticton, and all of the things that you've had to overcome, I can truly see that is a message of yours to accept the challenges and embrace them, and they will create opportunity.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like if we all shift our focus in that direction, that also feeds that proactiveness for us and that ability to see the world in a lighter place, which I think we all need right now.
In the world on a lighter place, lovely. And well, on that note, I'm going to wrap up our time together. I want to again just say thank you, Lyndie, for coming on, sharing your story with all of us at TEC Canada and beyond. Quite frankly, I want to believe that many that have listened in to either the sound bites or pieces of our story together, are shared together in 30, 40 minutes, I guess, that we've spent together. Who knows what happens from here? Who knows who reaches out and connects directly with you? And I'd encourage anyone who's picking up this message that we're sharing today to reach out to Lyndie, and not just to support her in the journey, to engage in the process, and maybe, as I always say, shamelessly steal the idea and take some of her challenges into your life and turn them into great success stories as well. Thanks for being with us, Lyndie.
Thank you so much. And yes, my door is always open and I'm always up for a good chat.
Fantastic.